Hi, coming back at you for another week of Technique Tuesday. So we've done a couple of weeks where we've spoken about some things that you can look at to try and address tennis elbow. We've done some wrist movements, some mobility work for our wrists. We've also done some strengthening stuff for our forearms. Today we're going to go through two really simple stretches that you can do for thoracic extension, which from some of the stuff that has been coming out, it can be not necessarily a cause, but it can be something that can exacerbate a problem when it comes to tennis elbow, even golfer's elbow as well too. So I want to try and make this really simple and stuff that you can do at home. So first thing we're going to go through is a movement called a bretzel. This is a really good stretch for you just to add in anyway. I really like doing this because not only is it working on thoracic extension, but it also really works all the way down, stretching out those hips. So the way we're going to set up for this is we're going to lie down on our side. What I want to do is I'm going to take this top knee across and place it on the floor. When I'm in this position, I'm aiming for my quad to be about 90 degrees to my torso, and I want my shin to be 90 degrees to my quad. From there, I'm going to take my other hand and I'm going to grab my ankle. Now, some of you may struggle to actually get into this position. If you can't, you can grab your toes, but ideally we want to get to the point where we're grabbing our ankle and bringing that knee in line with our hip. I'm going to take this other hand and place it on my knee, because as I do this movement, I want this knee to stay in contact with the floor. Now there's two ways you can do it. You can do it as a static stretch. So what I mean by that is when I open up, I'm just going to hold this position. So breathe into it, hold for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then I can sit up and I can change sides. Or you can do it as a dynamic stretch. So the way you would do that is, let's say we're doing 10 reps, we're still going to do the same movement. So I'm keeping this knee on the floor, working to get this shoulder to the ground. I'm going to open up, pause for 2 seconds, and then come back to the center. Open up, pause for another 2 seconds, breathing into it in that end range of motion, and then coming back to it. Open up, so making it a little bit more dynamic rather than static. You can do either. This is if you're adding this into, say, maybe a warm-up for a session that you're doing, I would do it more as dynamic. If you're doing it at home on the floor after a big workout or after a big day, you might want to do it as static more so than doing it as dynamic. But a really good stretch to not only work on that thoracic rotation, but also really kind of stretch out those quads and those hips as well. From there, the second movement, you will need a foam roller for this, and for this, there's a few different ways you can set it up, but this is kind of about trying to do it with limited equipment for you. But you're going to have the foam roller just beneath your shoulder blades, and ideally we want to lean back. I'll move a little bit closer to the pull-up rig, and I'm going to use that upright here, but I'm going to lean back and I'm going to grab something overhead. And then from there, all I want to do is I'm just going to let my hips sit to the floor. Now the narrower my hands are and the closer to the floor my hands are, the more of a stretch I'm going to get. So for some of you, when you're in this position, you may struggle to get your hips to the floor. So what I would do would be make it a little bit more dynamic. So if I'm here, arms are locked out, I'm going to work to the furthest point I can, breathe into it. If I can't quite get to the floor, I'll just bring my hips up a little bit, and then I'll go again, working down to the floor until I can get into a position where I'm just able to hold it for about 30 seconds, making sure I'm breathing all the way through, not talking like I am, but you get the idea. Just breathing into that bottom position, really opening that chest up. So that one's a little bit more thoracic orientated, where it's really working that rib cage, but both are really good, really simple stretches that you can use to try and build that thoracic extension, which for a lot of elbow issues, shoulder issues, can be something that needs to be addressed in order to fix those issues. So if you've got any questions on anything, let us know. Hopefully that all helps. If it doesn't, that's okay. I'm sure there's plenty of other information you can find on the internet. So we'll see you next week. Goodbye.